I've stepped out of the forest onto a power line right-of-way trail that's a bit brighter so that we can see it a little bit better. Before I did though, I picked up 2 cones here. The one on the right is a Douglas fir cone and the one on the left is a Sitka spruce cone. So you can still see some of those 3-pointed bracts on the Douglas fir cone. I just wanted you to be able to compare these. They're similar in size, but the appearance of them is very different. Remember the smaller cone scales on Sitka spruce, they've got little teeth on the end they're kind of blunt tipped with teeth, and they're very thin and papery. Much bigger, more robust cone scales on Douglas fir, plus those 3-pointed bracts. Okay, the plants out here are a little bit more vigorous since we've got a lot of light. So what's this plant that I'm touching with my left hand? That's salmonberry. We've got quite a few salmonberries here. Especially when they're growing in the light, they get a kind of vase shape where they have narrow bases and then their branches come up and then spread out at the top. And nearby, we have another rubus species, a rubus with kind of these big maple-like leaves. They're serrate, they're pointy, they're also quite fuzzy. That's thimbleberry. Along the side of the path here, see most of these are done flowering, but this is fireweed. So fireweed, remember, grows after a fire or in very disturbed areas. So you can see a few of the very ends of the flowers and the seed pods growing. When these seed pods are ripe, they'll split open and create a lot of very light, fluffy seeds that spread with the wind, which is important for an early successional species like that because it needs its seeds to spread very far. Here are some bracken ferns. I know it's not the great, oh, this is a pretty good one here. You can see this one. Remember, each blade is very triangular in shape, and bracken ferns can grow in a wide range of conditions, but really thrive in disturbed areas like this trail edge. Here's another native species you see in BC sometimes. I don't know the scientific name offhand, but it's called pearly everlasting. So very pretty flowers. Not on your list, but a nice flower to know nonetheless. Here's a good example of trailing blackberry, and you really see that pale blue-gray stem color that it often has. And here's the fruit of a mountain ash species. Oh, this one almost looks like it could be one of the native ones. I don't think so, though. There's 2 native ones, Sitka mountain ash and western mountain ash, but in Pacific Spirit Park it's almost all, or it is all, Eurasian mountain ash, which is an exotic invasive species. Here we go. Here's one I was looking for that we often find in wetter conditions. So take a look at this fern. I'm holding with my left hand. Note that the frond starts out, or the blade starts out narrow, gets wide, and then gradually gets narrow again. So if you look at the base of the fern, it's very narrow again. That's a lady fern, Aetherium filix femina. Here's another one here that I'm touching. That's a pretty good example. And right next to it, this is a bracken fern for comparison. This here is a plant we have lots of in BC. The fruiting, let's see, is this the fruiting stalk? Or I guess the non-fruiting stalks have compound leaves with 5 leaflets. The fruiting stalks have compound leaves with 3 leaflets, and then we get these big clusters of fruit. This is Himalayan blackberry. This is an invasive species that is very prolific and causing some trouble. It grows fast and smothers a lot of the native species. And without trying to stab myself with it, because it has huge thorns, I'm going to scoot you back in here. Look in the direction I'm facing. Do you see those fuzzy pink flowers there? This is hardhack, Spirea douglasii, or douglasii. And this is one that we often find in wet areas. So there's a little bit of a ditch on the side of the path here. So I think that's why this hardhack is growing here. Here's another one that I can hold so maybe you can see it better. So the leaves are long and narrow, and they have big teeth on the end, but aren't toothed toward the base. And here's a nice view of those tiny, tiny pink flowers. Very pretty, delicate flowers. Hardhack, Spirea douglasii. And also growing kind of in this ditch, another plant that likes to grow in very wet areas is horsetail. And I think this is common horsetail, Equisetum arvens. There's a number of horsetail species that look similar, so I'm not 100% positive. But horsetail is a very ancient plant. It's present in the fossil record from, I believe, millions of years ago without a lot of change from its present day form. Here's some more hardhack. Often you'll see this growing in big clusters. This hardhack looks like it's not doing quite as well. I think it's really having to compete with all of the other vegetation in this ditch. Oh, here's a good example of the fruit of vine maple. So it's a samara. A samara is a winged fruit with a heavy seed on one end and then a thin papery wing that allows it to spin around like a helicopter as it falls. And the characteristic for the fruit of vine maple is that the two samara are basically at a 180-degree angle. They come out straight from each other. Many of the other maple species, they come off at more of an angle. So that's the fruit of a vine maple, Acer circinatum. Oh, and finally, here's a really spectacular lady fern. Let me move that salmonberry out of the way so you can see. So look at this frond that I'm holding here. A nice big one starts out narrow, gets wider at about this point, and then gradually gets narrower all the way down to the base. So this is a very nice specimen of a lady fern. Take a look at the salal that I'm going to point the camera at. You can see the fruit there. So that one has the fruit looks a little bit overripe, but you get the idea of what the fruit looks like. It was and is an important food source for indigenous peoples in BC and the Pacific Northwest. Okay, here's some more fireweed that's still a little bit closer to being in bloom. So you can see those nice pink flowers. It's a very beautiful plant. Here's some more. Okay, that might be a longer walk than you were hoping for, so I think I'll end it there. Hope that helped though with the plant idea, and I hope you enjoyed having a 360 video of Pacific Spirit Park so you could feel a little bit like you're walking through there, even if you're not even in Canada. All right, thank you.